a weekly Simpsons podcast, but I also love other things, and this is a chance for me to get to talk about those. So today we are going to be talking about the absolutely, totally legal way that my friends here and I play poker and how much we love that. So joining me today, I've got comedian Jack Coleman, all the way from California. Just kidding, from Washington, D.C. That's just our game. I got Matt McElhone from Denton, Texas, also a stand-up comedian and professor from Northwestern State University of Louisiana, who's Dr. Andrew Briseno. How's everybody doing today, guys? Thanks for joining me for this poker chat.
I'm good, man. I had a good day. Had a good night last night. Did I win? I don't even remember.
I think I had a better night last night because I, in fact, won. Last night, Matt, Jack, and myself were able to actually play in our like quasi regular game that we play now online in the times of quarantine. And then Andy and I used to have a regular Monday night game in person, if you guys remember what that was like, where we would actually join together with beers and pizza and these like actual poker chips that you could play with and show off tricks in front of your friends. It was all very, very lame in so many ways, but also a really good time.
Doesn't sound very hygienic.
Exactly. So Jack, Matt, and I have played poker very recently. Andy, when's the last time you got a chance to play cards, my friend?
Geez. The last time I actually played poker, it was like a year and some months ago, like spring break before last. We went to we went to the Horseshoe in Shreveport, near where I live, right? And I get $200 and I sit down at the No Limit Hold'em table. I get dealt queens, right? First hand, right under the button, slam in $100. I'm like, let's go, boys. It gets called in 6 spots. I'm like, oh no. The board comes down, Jack 5 deuce or something like Jack bullshit, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, well, guys, I have 2 queens, I promise, and I put the other $100 in. 2 idiots call. One has Jack King and the other has Ace 10, and running 10s come off, as you knew, running 10s came off because the guy who just felt lucky had to. So yeah, I played one hand and I was like, yeah, that was fine.
Don't we love this game? Isn't it great?
Spending our money. How much I enjoyed that experience, and that it was a completely valid expenditure of our time, because I got a lot of pleasure out of that 4.5 minutes of exchange.
Yeah, Andy and go ahead, Matt.
Away. What'd you say?
I was gonna say, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just making a joke. It's over now. Sorry. Go.
I ruined it. I'm sorry. I was actually going to say, Andy and Jack, one thing that I love about playing both of you is you are both 100% willing to berate somebody for a good long time if they make what you consider a stupid call. I've seen.
Yeah, I'm definitely going off on Zane.
Dude, I forgot you have ripped another friend of ours, Zane Melton, another local comic. I don't remember what he called you with, but I don't think he'll ever do it again.
It was a pretty fucking similar situation, except, God, I want to say on the flop, I knew I had a flush, and he went in on a pair of queens and then rivered a queen. Or maybe there was a queen on the flop, but it was such a bad beat, and I a lot of times try to contain my bipolarness. I'm conscious of it, and I try to all right, don't freak out here. But that night I had just enough alcohol and just enough dislike for Zane Melton that all those rules canceled.
Please remind me to tag him when I post this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude. Bad beats are definitely part of it. But go ahead, Jack.
I don't think Andy or I berate anyone for a very long time. I think we educate poor poker players in a course of correction. Okay, get out of here with your 5 shit. Jack 7 shit.
Let me help you.
How dare you spend your money how you wish to at this friendly game?
But it's unpredictable. That's the thing. If there's a baseline of I can predict what you're gonna do, then it's like poker's like a lot more fun. But if it's like crazy shit happening, it's like
Thank you, Matt, for fixing that.
Sorry, I didn't realize how bad it was.
I'm not berating you right now. Okay.
I was about to come down on you hard.
Thank you for calling. Can I help you?
No, I kind of get both sides of that table because I've been the victim of some very bad beats from some very stupid calls, but I've definitely given my share of the lumps too. And I do think there is, honestly, I think there is a purpose to the way you guys handle that situation in most situations. But the truth is, I handle it the opposite, man. I swear, if somebody gives me that beat, if I'm able to contain myself, I will look them in the eye and I will say, good hand, and I will pray.
You say that every time you lose.
Another hand together, because I know over the long haul, I'm going to take that motherfucker's money. If I had, but that's the problem. Like, playing at a casino is too expensive for that mentality. That's like playing at our cheap ass friends games. Like, that's when I can afford revenge. Like when, you know, Jack and I had a hand that we had last night. We actually had two really. One was like a really classic hand, and the other one was a little bit more. It's a little bit more unconventional that we'll talk about, but it's interesting to see people's reaction. And yes, I do say good hand a lot, Matt. It's because I'm judging you as a poker player.
Yo, you know what that reminds me of? There's this comic in DC. He's based in DC. I don't know if you guys know him. Tony Woods. Are you familiar with Tony Woods?
No.
Did you watch Dave Chappelle's like accepting the Mark Twain Prize? That was like the one. I think it was the first comic he danked. Like Tony Woods like brought him up and like gave him a lot of advice, and he's also obviously Chappelle's from DC. And so he's still a local legend here, Tony is. And like anyone in New York knows him. He's like a kind of a comics comic. Never got famous though. And he still comes to open mics. All right. But one thing he'll do to new comics is he'll walk into the show and say, "Hey, good set, man."
Like while they're on stage?
No. Without ever seeing their set. Walk into the show, just show up at the show, and when he's seeing this comic, has been doing it less than a year, he'll just go up and be like, "Hey, good set," and the comic's like, "Oh my god, Tony Woods saw my set."
Dude, how many people like probably like kept grinding though because they thought that guy saw their set? Like in their mind, that was like the realest thing that ever happened.
But he's still
but at least one guy fucking totally quit when he found out that was bullshit.
I probably kept Zane. I probably kept Zane on like off the ledge that night because of the beating that he was giving out with bad beats and then like the break that he took.
Nice, fine, God.
No, dude, but like the thing with poker is it traditionally does not have a nice guy mentality about it. In fact, Andy and I were joking before you guys got on. I even made the joke. I was inviting Andy to our game, and I said, "You got to be careful though. These guys aren't very nice, which means they're actually good at poker." That's the old thing, though. Like they always say, like if you play with a game of really nice guys, they're probably trash at poker.
All right, I'm with Matt. You've been talking to Zane too much.
Yeah, I feel like we bully the shit out of Zane because he needs to become a better person. I feel like Michael Reed sometimes.
Bullying for a purpose. Okay? Bullying for a purpose.
Michael Reed sometimes is like. I can't tell if he's brilliant at poker or if he has no idea what he's doing in any given call because you can't read him. Like he'll call you on some shit and he'll be like, "Oh, I thought you were bluffing." It's like doesn't matter if you thought I was bluffing. You didn't have anything, you idiot. Like what were you gonna do?
Dude, that with your pair of sevens? Really good. My high card king was better than what I thought you had.
Exactly. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were bluffing and I thought my king would pull us through or whatever." It's like so I can't tell if he's so good because. Like, I can't tell if it's intentional or not. He is good. He wins, like, fairly. He's got a pretty good ratio with us. Of,
yeah, he does. He plays good poker, mostly, with some really absurd, wild pitches every once in a while.
I have no idea if it's intentional or not.
But did you guys watch? I know Andy did, for sure, because him and I have actually watched poker together. But, like, did you guys watch like World Poker Tour or like World Series of Poker or anything like that in its heyday?
Yeah.
A few times I have put on like the greatest hits, like the crazy hands ones and stuff to watch, but never with any like I never watched one from start to finish.
Okay. I've watched a ton of poker. I know Andy has. I think Jack, based on that reaction, also has. And like there are certain pros that have a reputation. They consistently make it to final tables and win tournaments, but they play like absurd poker when it comes to like the traditional, like they are not following oh shit, I'm like blanking Doyle Brunson's book by any means. Like I'm thinking of somebody like Gus Hansen who will like come in a hand and push with like 3-7 and win though. Like he chooses the right moments to bet it. It's I don't know. I think there is like maybe like you said, it's like there's a fine line between being a complete idiot at poker and being somewhat of a genius.
Yeah, it's like gaslighting the other players.
That's an interesting way. Like maybe we all think Zane sucks because he wants us to think he sucks.
You know who does that? Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth, both those guys, and even Esfandiari. Look at me pulling out these names.
Look at you, dude. Did you just drop the magician's name?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Did you know that's his nickname?
Ming the Magician? What is that? Who it is? I don't know. Anyways,
and Fari
on TV, dude, they're so good at trolling people. I think that's true, man. Because they're like, it's like they're beautiful artists, and then they troll you. So you're right with Michael, man. You don't know. Does he know all of the numbers, and he's just fucking with us?
I don't know.
He wasn't.
I've given up.
He was. So
I don't get mad at him anymore. I give him the benefit of the doubt. But the first couple times he played, I would get mad.
I mean, he's actually taken the pot home enough times that you got to think there's something to it. Same with Zane.
I think he honestly might have the most wins. It's either him or maybe you, Jack. You got a lot of wins.
I feel like Jack is up there. I feel like I'd throw my name in the hat, but you know, whatever.
But only on ratio. Like number of games that you've played versus number of times that you've won, and you'd be in there.
Yeah, for sure. But no,
there was a minute there where we were playing like every night though, and I was like,
that was a lot of money, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets expensive to play poker if you don't win enough. Turns out.
Andy, I think do you play online anywhere?
Say what?
Do you play online anywhere, Andy?
Not at the moment, man. I have in the past for sure, but like what is the one that you can actually get onto? America's Card Room. It's just kind of, it feels like you walked into like an Oklahoma casino in 1988, if you guys know what I mean. Like when they were all still just like big ass metal barns, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, it's just like, it feels like there are rats running around on the floor of this online poker room.
Like somehow you're going to get a real infestation from this virtual poker room.
Exactly. I feel like I'm going to get virtual craps from sitting on this imaginary chair. And I don't know how that works, but I feel sincere about it.
I really like the poker software you guys introduced me to when I started playing with your group.
Yeah, just using Zoom in one window, and then the ones that have their own video thing, like Poker Stars has a friends option, and then the other, I had to delete those from my phone though, because they're so, if you can just sit there and play while you're pooping and play while you're, you know, and you can enter games, there's no like start time or whatever. Like before I knew it, I like, especially in the first week when it was like really like new that I could like play these people around the world, I wasn't doing anything else. It's so addictive, and they do that on purpose. Like the lights and the stimulation and how quickly they make you like check or call or fold or whatever. Like everything is designed to get you addicted, and it's kind of scary. Like playing with you guys, I feel like I have to depend on other people meeting a start time. But if I could just do it at any time of the day, I have too addictive of a personality, you know? So I stay away from them.
That makes sense. It's especially casinos. I mean, they are designed to take advantage of your addictive personality. Like knowing that about yourself is definitely important before you step foot in those doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you guys all gambled, played poker in a card room at a casino before?
I've not played poker. I play blackjack at the casino a lot, but I've never played Hold'em there.
It's definitely something that it's like, to me, a vast difference. I don't know if it's the honestly, what I think it is more than anything is just there are people in that room that have such absurd amounts of money that like you are automatically going to be intimidated by their stack, because like if you're playing like a rebuy tournament, for instance, I literally played a rebuy tournament in Vegas where the guy across from me went all in every hand, and there was unlimited rebuys for the first hour. So he went all in every single hand. Busted, rebuy, busted, rebuy, busted,
Jesus
rebuy.
Christ.
And it's just it's just like he was literally just trying to take advantage of getting like one big suck out draw early so that he would come with this big chip stack advantage to round 2. But it's like,
I was just curious how much money that was. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it was like a $50-something buy-in after everything. So I mean, he probably dropped $600-700 there in the first round.
Yeah, that's insane.
But it gets really, really expensive. But it sure as hell is fun to watch, man. It really is. And actually, I think this would be a good time. Jack, Matt, actually, the three of us, Jack, Matt, and I were in a hand last night that got real interesting. It went around. I raised preflop. I'll just tell you that Jack had Jack Queen suited, and I had pocket kings.
You should also know that Miles has 5,000. 5 is $6,000, and I have $16,000.
Yeah, I was definitely understacked. I actually had closer to 7 at the beginning of the hand, but I had 56. I basically was able to bet the pot as my all-in bet after the flop. And
right.
It was 50.
I had triple the amount of chips, though. Almost triple the amount of chips.
Big time. And also, Matt claims, and again, this is one of those, like we were just talking with Michael Reed, like maybe this is Matt's idiot savant moment. Matt claims that he called by accident.
Yeah, I didn't win, though, so that's fair.
There's a third person in the pot as well who, so to give you the pre-flop what happened here, okay? There was, at the flop, there's 5380, I believe, in the flop. And before that, there were 3 people in the flop. So if you divide that, everyone was betting around, called. Well, actually, let's go. I have this all written down. So
I was like, how the fuck are you
scratch notes?
All right, so this is basically what happened. Okay,
I think you should drink more because of this.
The data set.
Miles, what happened was Miles has pocket kings, and he raises it 3 big blinds. Okay. All right. In a loose game already, and then I double that. Okay. So he raises, I believe it was 60, and he raised it like 180 or something like that, or it was 120, and he raised it 360.
Yeah, and you were the
how close to the gun was Miles? This is gonna matter.
What?
I was first.
Where were you sitting?
I was first.
You were first act. Okay.
He was first to act. Yeah, I was on the button.
I was the big blind.
The small blind. Yeah. You were first position, right? Or were you big blind?
I was big blind, and the small blind had folded.
No, you couldn't have been big blind. You were first position. Because
you're right. I was first position. Yeah, I was the first person. I raised first.
And you raised at 3 big blinds, which is fucking ridiculous. That's a huge raise. I would consider that a huge raise. And so
you had kings.
I was right. Completely legit. Yeah. And so I was thinking, okay, well, this guy, he has there's basically 5 hands he has. Okay, I have a decent hand, but not a great hand, but on the button, a decent hand. And so you raise that, and so I'm like, all right, well, let's see where he is. And so I double that. Okay. And then Miles comes back and doubles that. Okay.
A little more than double that.
Yeah, a little more. Well,
I went to 1300. It was 6. I went to 13.
Yeah, okay, roughly doubled it, but sure.
I just want my credit for that extra 100, bro. I was sending a clear message.
What's also important, I think, Andy, what's important here to understand is this is not just Miles and me. There is a third person over here
that is in this hand, yeah,
who has called my re-raise.
And my re-raise.
He cold called.
Hold on, let me talk.
He called 6
my
bets.
re-raise. Okay, and then calls Miles' re-raise.
No, I didn't. I did not call it around. The first one threw me all in.
Matt.
No, you still had like $6,000 left, dude.
Luke was in the hand.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Here's how. Don't interrupt me for a second. Here's how I remember it.
Log, bro.
Yeah. Okay. just hold on. I think I'm pretty certain. You know how like at the bottom there's like the call, and you can call like before it gets around to you. Well, I hit call like the exact second that you put in your re-raise.
We are not talking about that hand. You do not remember
what
happened last night.
What do you mean we're not talking about that hand? That's definitely the hand we're talking about.
No, he's talking about he is actually talking about the same hand that we're talking about.
No,
But
dude, we're talking about the hand that where we both went. He accidentally called my all in.
He did it twice, dude.
Yeah, I think I did it twice last night.
You were not in the hand, dude.
What did I have?
Michael folds. My name not in the hand. You called the first one and then you folded.
Oh, so it was Luke, not Matt?
Luke was in the hand, yes.
Okay,
Luke
then I'm tripping. All right, fine. Go ahead and read your log if you have a log.
Well,
why didn't you bring that up? Why didn't you just mention that?
Your log.
Why didn't you just tell us you had this when we started the conversation? We could have avoided the last 3 minutes of this.
Actually, I'd like to give my interpretation of what happened.
Yeah, sure, right? Miles said at the time, you were like, oh, we should talk about this on the show. So I just go and copy the log.
Nice.
So, okay. So there is what's important here to know is that Luke is calling a re-raise. Whatever you think of my re-raise, what the fuck is Luke doing?
And I don't even remember what Luke ended up having.
Luke had 8-3 of clubs.
Yes! Okay, so first off, I need to find a trophy to give to Luke right now because that man is a hero. He's a genius. He's a captain of industry.
That's a Gus Hansen call.
And I want to be more like Luke when I grow up.
Matt was in the hand, but Matt folded before the flop. You did call by accident, Matt.
Yeah.
But you ended up folding before the flop, and I can't see what you have because of that.
Because you folded.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know what you have.
So was the 8-3 re-raise? Was that all pre-flop?
So yes.
Oh Jesus! What a ridiculous hand.
So I understand why Jack had to call because Luke had essentially bumped the pot odds to like the point that you have to call that with the Jack Queen suited. I understand that. And then it's the flop where we differ on who's correct.
Flop, okay. Because,
yeah.
So Luke is calling me. Okay, it's calling me pre-flop. So it's like this motherfucker has to have like kings or aces. That's it. Okay, and so the flop comes 7 of hearts, 6 of spades, 7 of spades. Okay, I have a flush draw
and nothing else.
Basically, nothing else. Fair. I have a flush draw. I have a 35-ish% chance of hitting this flush draw. Okay, there's 53.80 in the pot. Okay, Miles, by some, I don't know, quirk of fucking math, has 53.80 chips. And he matches
maybe by accident.
Exactly. Okay. So if I just straight up call, it's like straight odds, like 1 out of 3 chance basically of me getting it. Plus I've already committed all this money. But also I'm thinking fucking calling station over here, Luke, is gonna call. Okay. And I also don't think that this motherfucker Miles has king. Okay.
I have been known to raise without having the hand that I claim to have.
Right, but I thought you had like king. And what I was scared about is a higher flush than me. But what my real thought is Luke's fucking calling this, I'm getting great odds. And then you turn over a king, one of the kings is the king of spades, and the next 2 cards are spades, and Miles takes all my fucking money.
But like that's really you got the part that made me laugh was you got mad at me because the next card comes out and it's a spade, so I'm down, but I immediately start rooting for the spade, and when it hits, you're like, "You suck out, motherfucker!" And I'm like, "You had to suck out on me. You were able to suck out on you."
Like 2 or 3 to 1.
But if you look at the odds from the flop, it came out exactly like it was supposed to. You just didn't go the path we thought it was going to take.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. The ends justify the means, whatever.
That's a stretch. No, I think mathematically what that comes down to is that's the beauty of poker. I mean, like, it sucks sometimes and it's awesome sometimes, but we both made the correct I think we both played that hand about as perfectly as we could. It's just we ended up in a more or less close to a coin flip. I did have the edge on you post flop. You had the edge on me after the turn, but I had it at the end of the river, and at the end of the day, that's what the fucking poker matters. Just like with Andy's 10-10 earlier. But dude, that's like I can compare poker to so much of life because all it is pushing your chips in when you have the best odds of things going well. I'm saying I pulled that off.
I think that Luke owes Jack a rebate. That's my official answer here.
What's that?
I think Luke owes Jack a rebate because if he wasn't a total dumbass, there's no way you're stacking off there. Like, you're probably still calling without the crazy odds, but when he shoves, you're gonna go. I don't know. Maybe you're getting it in there anyways with the flush draw. But like, I think you have a chance to fold without the dumbass free money in the pot.
I do. I could have folded. This is true.
But yeah, Luke definitely made me money on that hand for sure.
That's really weird to me too, because Luke is not typically, he's not one of the ones that I think of as doing that. It almost makes me wonder if maybe he also called by accident or like a different hand, but he called by accident in this situation because he's not the type to do that. He's a better player than that usually, don't you think?
I think something you did, 100%. Luke's a great player. He's also won a lot of times, but something that you just said there, I think, is really interesting in that I think that there's an aspect of poker that there's so much lying involved that sometimes you catch your own self in a lie and you're just kind of like, shit, I got to pretend like I have a hand now, or at least like I have to like act like this was a tough thing for me to decide to fold and not just the
true. Yeah, because if he did accidentally call it, then there's no reason for him to be like, oh, I fucking didn't mean to hit the call button. You know what I mean? Like then he's out no matter what. He has no bargaining. So he may as well stay for the flop, or the turn.
And I mean, really, the flop is good investment because it's the only time you get 3 cards. After that, your return on investment goes significantly down for every bet. So
yeah,
I'm with dude. Like again, going back to like a player like Gus Hansen, like I've seen those players make crazy. I mean, statistically, just like you're looking at it, like how does that even work? But they just know that if they bet it correctly, they will pull more money out of that pot than they put into it, regardless of what cards they're looking at.
And also, there's some serious value to advertising. So, like, when me and Miles used to play together, there was this guy we played with named Carl. God bless Carl.
Love Carl.
You ever see Carl any?
I don't know. I haven't seen Carl in years, but bless Carl.
Yeah, right. Anyways, Carl had a very strong memory. And so, like, early on, every time we'd play cards, I'd be sure to bluff Carl out of a pot and then, like, show him my 3-9 offsuit. And then for the rest of the night, I had 3-9 offsuit. Like, that's all Carl could believe. And, like, that was worth it was worth an entire buy-in to get Carl to believe that I had nothing for the whole fucking night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and there is an aspect of that right there that I do definitely miss playing in like an actual felt table. Like, there's definitely something to be missed from that. But I'm really enjoying the playing on Zoom, and I do think that kind of gets us to a point where it's closer to having human interaction. Do you think that this is going to be something that, like, are you guys itching to get back to an actual poker table, or is this scratching the itch for the most part?
I mean, I'd still love to play. If you guys said right now we're gonna have a game tonight, I'd be in. It scratches the itch, but it's not the same. There's no. This is gonna sound stupid and probably a little macho, but I kind of feel like people play differently and treat each other differently when they're in punching distance. You know what I mean? Like.
How tilted are you really gonna get? Jack
different.
would definitely not run his mouth as much.
Does that carry a gun, Matt? Is that what you're saying?
I said punching distance. I'll put the gun in the safe and change the passcode before you come over.
Right. There's no way. I don't have a gun. There's no way. Anyways.
Have you ever had a hostile poker encounter?
Oh yeah, I've had a cold deck. Someone fucked with me with a cold deck, bro. Which is like where it was an at-home game, and I think I was up to around $300. It was a $20 or $50 buying or something like that. And the last hand, they're like, all right, we need one more hand. I was like, okay, well, we need one more hand. It was a different colored deck. I was like, okay, interesting. I had a full house, and the other guy had a straight flush. The very last hand, and I lost all of my $300.
So that escalated to physical conflict?
No, but I did flip the table
Was that the end of it? Like, how does that?
No, it was like, because I was like, you guys fucked with me, because I didn't know the guy's house I was playing at. I was like, you guys fucked with me here, okay? Because like, what are the odds, man? What are the odds that fucking happens? The last hand, I have 3 aces and like 2 jacks, and then the other guy has a straight flush.
Yeah.
I think Andy's looking it up.
It's obviously possible, but the real tell is the fact that he had a different colored deck.
Yeah,
that
the deck is messed up.
That's like
unless it's a situation where, like, what Andy and I used to do, like at our games, is we'd have 2 decks in rotation, and the person ahead,
one blue and one red.
While that way you're always dealing.
Yeah.
And we also learned one night that you always cut towards the person that you're dealing. That became a very big deal at one point. I don't remember why, but somebody got real upset about
the
And that was one thing that I used to get really frustrated with Michael Reed about. He finally stopped doing it, but at the beginning, if he folded, then like when the flop came out, he'd say, "Oh man, I would have had 3 of a kind." And I was like, "Dude, you can't do that."
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, what's the matter? We're just playing a friendly game." I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to play the friendly game by the fucking rules that make the most sense. Like, we can be friendly.
We're still playing for money. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're friends and we have fun, but like, we all want to win. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, that is like the most laxed rules, you know?
2 in a million.
2 in a million?
2 in a million.
Why wouldn't they just say 1 in 500,000?
Well, I mean, I thought I did the math.
Oh, okay.
I thought 2 in a million sounded cool.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. 1 in 500,000.
I was like, that's a very easy number to divide.
I will be sure to reduce my fractions in future answers, Mr. Most Days Off.
We should mention that Andy's an English professor, not a math professor.
Yeah, we should definitely mention that because
it's very important.
I got that number exactly correct.
That has to be for those specific cards, as opposed to just having 3 of a kind and a full house, right?
Full house versus
specifically
that is
to be a
the
jack
odds of getting a royal or a straight flush and a full house at the same time, like in the same.
Gotcha.
Wait, wow. Is what again?
Roughly. 2 in a million.
2 in a million.
Yeah, I'd flip the table over too. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I'm willing to take a 2 in a million chance that I'm a dipshit and flipped your table over for no reason. That seems fine to me. Literally 999,998 times you're an asshole. So
yeah, let's go get them from 14 years ago. On the grudge.
I really wish I had a time machine that you could only use for stupid dipshit things like that. Like going back in time to be like, ha! You were wrong!
You make a list like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison.
Does anybody else have a like almost escalated or escalated to violence poker story?
No, not really. Also, I'm like almost always blackout drunk by the end of it, which I think is a big. I think that's a big part of why my ratio is down. There was a while there where I was getting second place like all the time, and it seems like at the start of the night I tend to have the most pot wins and the largest pot, and then something happens. I don't know if it's like 7 beers in or 8 beers in, but all of a sudden I am just like out within 3 fucking hands of that.
Just like the casino, your fridge will just keep giving them to you, like. Over and over.
Yeah, exactly. I'll stock up. There's sometimes where you guys say like, "Are we ready to play?" And I'll say yes because I know everyone takes 20 fucking minutes to get ready and run up to the gas station to make sure I got enough beer.
Yeah, yeah. Got to make it by the time limit. I never got any violence. I did have one time. I used to play in a lot of competitive poker leagues, like where you'd go to like bars and play, and like they track your stats and shit. And like a lot of times they're in the dingiest fucking like just dank holes in the fucking wall. But I was at one time, and there's this old cowboy, and he was getting really pissed off because I kept bluffing and kept pushing pots, and I kept winning. And he at one point he's like, I'm gonna look at your fucking cards, and I'm like, don't fucking touch my hand. And I beat him again, and he flipped my cards over, and I totally bluffed, but like I stood up, and like I was very young and dumb at the time. I was probably 18 or 19 years old, so I stood up and got in his face, and immediately like there was somebody there that like came over and like separated us or whatever. But like I was pissed off because the dude like turned my fucking hand over.
Yeah, so
super, and he knew what he was doing. I mean, he had declared that he was going to do it, knowing that it was a violation of the rules, and like then did it when I bluffed him again, and I was fucking pissed. But the coolest poker story I have by far is,
did they DQ that guy before you go on? Did he get kicked out of that
actually,
tournament?
They DQ'd me because I instigated the violence, which all I did was literally stand up. I just stood up and was like, what the fuck, dude? I didn't touch him in any way, shape, or form, but they kicked me out. He was a regular there, and I was just a guy coming through to play poker, so
yeah,
it is what I was 18. I really don't give a fuck. Like Jack said, like we can go back in time, like I don't even know, 20 something or like 19 years ago. I'm bad at math too, Andy. But one time I used to play a lot of poker back in the day. Same time frame. I actually used to play in this completely illegal game in the back of an Italian restaurant. It was a cash game that they did. It was dope as fuck, honestly. It was one of those games where a lot of very dumb rich dudes just putting money in, and they were open to us coming in and playing, and like we had a lot of good nights, my friends and I there. But one night, is it the TABC? Yeah, they came and busted, like the Texas, people in charge of gambling. They came and busted the game while I was in it, and I just fleed out of the room. I actually went and laid in the back, like it was at a restaurant, so I ran out the back door and I dove in the bed of some random person's truck. And I just laid there in the back of this bed of this truck. And literally this person left at one point, and I just jumped out the next time they stopped at a stoplight.
What? That's the perfect getaway.
It worked, man. I mean, like, I don't think they really cared. Like, in hindsight, they were probably there to bust the people running the game and not the, like, dumb kid playing in the game. But, like, still, it was a fun time.
What cops don't cover the back door?
What's that?
Can we talk about that for a second?
Dude, they came in both the front and the back at the same time.
Get out?
What's that?
How did you get out?
They came in, and we just slipped out. I mean, like they were going for the people running the game. They didn't care about us. There was probably 6 of them and 30 of us.
That's crazy.
Shit, bro.
It wasn't like SWAT. It was like a couple of cops coming in each door. It was cool. It was a fun story. I, get to remember that, and I didn't die or get arrested that night. So good times.
The fact that the guy drove you out is like
no, I was there, dude.
It'd be funny if they really did.
Dude ever knew I was there.
I know.
Yeah. Like, but like, I'm pretty sure I started.
I'm not doubting you. That's crazy. I just think it's funny that like if they were after you, he almost could have gotten hit with like an accomplice charge for being your wheelman, like your getaway vehicle. Like,
oh, but yeah,
I might have needed therapy about that shit.
Just some random dude.
Like, he's probably gonna have to look in the back of his truck every day for the rest of his life to make sure there's not some long-haired teenage motherfucker back there waiting to jump out at a stoplight.
Oh man, good times, dude. Good times. I miss playing poker, but I am glad that I have this online game to play with you guys. So, do you guys have any other fun poker stories? I have other stuff to ask you, but if you have any other just stories you want to interject, we've got about 20 minutes left. All right, well then we've got to dedicate some time to talking about the best poker movie of all time ever made. Clearly, we're all going to agree. We can say it all at the same time. 3, 2, 1. The Grand.
Never seen it.
It's obviously Rounders. But
I'm trying to fuck with me.
I don't
find that appropriate.
Yeah.
Have you seen Molly's Game?
Molly's Game is.
It's on Netflix right now.
Yeah, you had when you originally pitched it, you had said Gerald's Game, which is a completely different movie.
Really? Oh yeah, the Stephen King one.
You told us about it in the group chat, and you're like, "Have you guys seen Gerald's Game? It's like a really cool poker movie." And you're just like, "I think that's the one where the chick gets like handcuffed to the bed, and then her husband dies, and then she's like trapped in the wilderness because they're at their like log cabin or whatever." But yeah, tell us about Molly.
That's a good one. I think it gives Rounders a run for its money.
I wouldn't go that far. I liked it.
Yeah, it's more about her as an organizer and how she like evades things. So I guess if we're talking just like sheer like seeing hands and watching things play out, then it's probably not even in the same category. It's like a movie about poker. It's not a movie that shows poker, you know. So
Rounders, Andy and I were talking about before this air, or before we like went online or whatever on air. But Rounders is one of those movies that like I've seen it. I don't even know how many times, but him and I both like. I remember the first time I saw it. I'd been aware of poker. I played poker like occasionally, but like once you see that movie, like it just like turns something. There was a switch that was flipped inside of me that was like, no, I must chase this dream of winning a poker tournament one day.
Yeah, that movie's incredible. All gambling movies end with like a. It sucks that every gambling movie and every bank robbing movie has to end with them like learning their lesson or not like paying off. And Rounders doesn't do that, right? Because I'm thinking of Mississippi Grind where they walk out of the scene and the safe is open and it's like stacked with all the stacks that they won. I can't remember how Rounders ends.
Rounders ends with him starting exactly where he ended off, I believe, with 3 stacks of high society to his name. And he goes to take that to Vegas because he's going to chase the World Series of Poker. I think. Does that sound right, Andy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
He's actually going to try to move to Vegas on a $30,000 stake, which is like terrible math. Like,
what year was it set, though?
This was in 1998 or 9, wasn't it?
That era.
Was it earlier than that? It might have been earlier than that, yeah.
Yeah, like late 90s. I was in high school.
Matt Damon was still like a young dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, though I have actually told all of you guys about The Grand, and this is a movie I really do swear by, even though it's like a very low-rated.
I saw that dumb shit.
Dumb shit, dude. That's like if you have watched. If you have,
that movie's awful.
It is not awful.
Emily was so mad that we watched that.
Oh my god,
she was pissed.
My wife
was mad.
I wouldn't expect your wife to like it. I would expect you to like it. If you actually like poker. Like that's the thing. Like, but the Grand is this movie that is a parody of like what World Poker Tour and World Series of Poker on ESPN was. I'm sure Jack's looking at the rating right
Jack,
now.
What's that face?
It's probably like a 2.8
right now.
What is its rating? What is its rating?
So IMDb, they're usually a little more generous, 6.3 out of 10.
It's really less or more than I thought it would be. Rotten Tomatoes,
40%, dude.
Hey, dude, that's 40% fresh, bro. That's like most a meal.
Rotten.
And it's fair if you consider the fact that people who don't like poker probably won't like the movie, and if only 40% of people are poker fans, then that
there
makes
you
sense.
go. That's perfect math by Matt right there. I dig
it.
Dude,
I would totally watch this movie.
Dude, it's Woody Harrelson in the lead. There's a cameo by a ton of real poker players. And if you like watched World Poker Tour or World Series of Poker,
yeah, I would watch that movie.
Fantastic, like mockumentary, essentially following the style. And literally all the things that we've talked about today are like aspects of that tournament. Like they have characters that like act like they don't know what they're doing, so that they can, you know, try to succeed more than they do. And there's like the old time. There's the old timers who get like violent at the table and they like reminisce for a day when somebody sucked out on you. You could take them out in the garage and break their legs. You know, the good old days of poker.
The good old days. Did you ever watch Taja, that Korean gambling movie?
No, I don't think I did.
You got to watch that. It's not about Hold'em. It's about like a 13 like chip deck basically that they play with, but it explains in the movie, it explains how the game is played, and then there's a lot of like where they show the actual hand and everything. So as far as a gambling movie goes, even though it's not technically about Hold'em, it's up there for me in terms of favorite gambling movies.
Okay, so resend that link because I will check that out. That sounds cool. I like gambling movies, even though you're right. They almost always end up with somebody just getting their comeuppance, which I mean, I guess is fine.
Yeah.
I guess.
I guess. So going a little bit more. Go ahead.
This movie looks good. I'm gonna watch this movie later tonight.
Dude, I'm telling you, I love this movie.
Tajo or The Grand?
Grand is one of the funniest poker movies I think that exists. I mean, it might be the only poker comedy that exists. But
I'm gonna set it to download right now.
No, I just made a face.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to come up with. I thought you had a counter for that, like, because I love Rounders and it's clearly a better movie, but I don't think it's a funnier movie.
No. Oh God, what is the name of that? The Cincinnati Kid is unintentionally way more hilarious, if only because there are like 20 minutes of the film that is dedicated to an actual ass cockfight. Like, you get to see two chickens murder each other for a full 15 minutes of screen time. It's sort of like wild. And the ending of the movie is that he loses everything, and then his girl is like, "I love you anyways." It's
well, now
really,
I don't have
really
to watch
awful.
it.
Yeah, I mean, like I advocate it as a hate watch. It's on Netflix. Turn it on and revel at how bad it is.
That's fair. All right, I want to go slightly deeper for our last few minutes. I want to ask you guys both, like, why you think what enjoyment you get out of poker. Like, what is it that makes you continue to want to go back to the table, even though we've all just talked about all the times we've had, bad suckouts or lost money, things of that nature. And also, if somebody doesn't play poker, what would you tell them to get them to try to play poker? So on my screen, I'll start with Jack and go around the table. So, Jack, you go first.
What would I tell someone who wants to try and play poker? I would just read a book. I'd start there. Find some book.
That's a huge task. Like, which book would you recommend? Because there's like literally hundreds of them.
You're asking the wrong person.
You're from Alabama. You don't know how to read. Which YouTube video would you like to?
Super System, always a great place to start. Don't play shitty hands. Put pressure on your opponent. All the sorts of other shit that Super System says. That's helpful. The dude who has the baseball hat and it's green, Celtics hat, I forgot his fucking name. He has a good book.
Dan Harrigan.
Yes. That guy. So read a book. That's what I did. I probably have read 2 books, maybe 3 poker books, and I don't really know what I'm doing. I have a general understanding for some stuff, and so I would start reading a book before you start playing.
So what keeps you personally going back to poker?
Well, I really like taking Matt's money. Matt and Colton too.
Matt's money's been so good, dude. It's like the best.
It's like having twice the amount of money.
I like using Matt's money 5 weeks so you can just keep it circular.
Right. Having fun with your friends, but then also particularly in a casino, setting a trap and outsmarting someone. That's always fun. Sure.
So you get off on feeling smarter than people, is what you're trying to say.
Everybody does. Come on. We're comedians. What are you talking about? That's what we do. I have a microphone. I'm in front of a room. I tell everyone I'm smarter than them.
You gotta get a better opener, though, man. That's not working out so well. Save that for till people like you, and then tell them that. Matt, same question, dude. Not do you like being better than people, but why do you keep going back to the table? And what would you tell a new player?
I feel my answer to the first question is kind of part of my answer to the second question. A general competitive nature for anything that I even have a glimpse at being decent at, whether it's pool or bowling or anything like that. I'm a competitive person, and I think of all the competitive sports or whatever that you can do with friends. Pool is definitely up there as well, but 6 of your friends sitting down at a poker table and playing, for me, it's the social aspects as much as I love the competitive aspect. Like you guys were talking about going to a casino, and that, I can definitely see why that would be fun, but I don't think it compares to hanging out with 6 buds and talking about the week in between hands, if that makes sense.
No, I think that makes sense. I completely concur with all that. Yeah.
And I wouldn't really try to convince someone to play poker if they haven't already, because I don't hang out with like teenagers. And if you're 30 years old and it's never occurred to you to give it a shot, then I don't. You're just not a competitive person, I guess. You don't like socializing. I think it's kind of weird when we invite people and they say, "Oh no, I don't play poker." It's like, "Oh, do you have a gambling problem? Did you like have to stop playing poker?" Like,
oh, you're having issues. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I would try to convince somebody. If they said no, I'd be like, "Cool, stay the fuck away."
That's a reasonable answer. Let's assume like somebody just woke up out of a coma and like they're like, "Man, I really want to learn poker. What should I do?"
Yeah, what should I do? Start small, I guess. Like it's really good to start with a phone app. Jack was talking about reading a book, but if you got a phone app that like lets a computer tell you what your odds are on each hand, and you can do that and just run a number of hands with absolutely zero stakes. Do that before you like start buying into games where people are going to be mad at you because you don't know what you're doing.
You don't want Andy and Jack berating you for sucking out on them in the river. Doing my table. But Andy, last but not least, my friend, same question to you.
Well, the reason I keep going back to poker kind of just comes with where I started. Honestly, like the first time I ever played cards, it was at a family reunion, right? And that degenerate gambling uncle that everyone has, or at least every Mexican has, right? Like, like busted out a sock full of nickels and was like, "We're gonna play some cards, y'all." And he sold everyone 20 nickels, and fucking, I remember I was just jamming it in with absolute garbage, right? Like I didn't have anything, I had nothing. I was like, "Screw it, we're raising." And when we flipped all the cards over at the end, I'd luck boxed into a backdoor flush and won like 370, right? Which was like, an infinite amount of money when you're 9.
Did your uncle scream at you? Is that where it came from?
I was like, "What is wrong with you, you dumb mother?" No.
Did he put the
pulls off his
block and starts beating you? That's where I thought the story was ending, by the way, Andy.
This is, as it turns out, the most pleasant story involving a sock full of nickels in the history of I am proud to say. But yeah, and just ever since then, like the like rush of winning, and honestly, winning when you're totally not fucking supposed to, like I would be way more into sports if it were completely possible to like accidentally win at the very end from playing poorly. You know what I mean? Like if the Browns just had a 1 in 1,000 chance of winning each game on the last play, it would make it a lot more fucking fun for me, and that's what poker is.
It's
you know what I mean? Like
catching the golden snitch in Harry Potter. Like the rest of the game is technically happening, but really, unless at the end somebody grabs that thing, doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
all right, I'm the only nerd here.
But yeah,
Andy, are you a comic?
Say what?
You a comedian?
No.
Okay.
No, I teach school.
I was just gonna say write that down because that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, that is actually really good. Very good.
It's really good.
Miles,
guys, I'm going to kind of combine like all your answers because you basically cover everything, Phil. But really, Matt touched on it most. For me, like my early poker memories are very social. Like I remember hanging out with friends. Like it'd be like get pizza and like 2 liters of soda and like hang out and play for candy pieces or whatever. Like in the early days, and that like developed the quarters. And then, when I went to UNT, literally I was playing in the dorms, like every single night, small cash games, and that developed to going to the casinos. And then eventually you meet other degenerate friends like Andy, who, you start having home games with, and like that social aspect of it to me is something that is a lot of fun. Because I always say whenever I'm playing poker, if I put the money on the table, that money is spent money. Like I'm not planning to get my money back. I'm planning on spending it on a night of entertainment, much like I would if I put that money into a movie ticket or a theme park or anything else that you might do with your money. If I put that money on the poker table, it's spent money, and I am paying, for that amount of time that I get to play and enjoy the quality times talking shit with my friends, essentially. That's always been my mindset. And again, the candy developed money and the soda developed a beer, but like it's still essentially the same feeling that I've always gotten from the game. I prefer it, when we're in person, but the Zoom thing with the times that we have has been fantastic. And I do look forward to a time that we can all get back together on the felt again. But we're getting really close to the end of this show. So let's go ahead and do our plugs real quick. Jack, where can people find you online and follow your comedy if you wish to share?
Jack, don't be shy. You got a TikTok.
Dude, you're always
your TikTok videos on the TikTok. I would say, so for 16 weeks until like maybe a couple weeks ago, we put on a show that was a weekly show called the Quarantine Comedy Weekly, and you can check that out at capitallaughs.com or at our YouTube page, Capital Laughs DC. And it's just a weekly show with like clips of local comics, some stand-up, and then segments. And it's pretty funny. And we covered like the protests and shit too when they happened. So check that out, capitallaughs.com. That's the plug, right? Cool. That counts.
Dude, you nailed it, bro. Yeah.
Great plug.
Very good. Great plug. Honestly, we're going to take notes. We'll write that down. Matt McElhone.
Due to the coronavirus or whatever, I don't have any shows coming up, so I would say just follow me on Twitter at Matt McElhone. It's hard to spell, but I'm sure that Miles will put it somewhere in the description. At Matt McElhone, and if I got shows, I'll post about them on there.
Very cool. Andy. Dr. Andrew.
I wrote this lovely novel, Down and Out. It is available from Goldwake Press. And according to some asshole named Miles Francis on the back, it says, "Down and Out is the problem with American literature today. This book ruined my life." I can't think of a stronger admonition. You can find this wherever books are sold, including Walmart.com, which I like to tell my grandma. She's a big fan of that. And I'm also on Twitter at @JAndrewRaseño. And yeah, that's me.
Dude, I forgot that you had that on there, and I'm still honored to this day to have that little quip there for you. But also, I am the villain in your book, so it's very fitting.
Yeah,
like, it works.
It's a reality book. It's nonfiction mostly. I mean, it's a novel. It's made up, but it's also completely true. So yeah.
What's it about in general?
So it's about this small town in Arkansas that has like one factory that is like where everyone works. And then one day the factory closes, but a reality television show crops up, and like they film everyone not having a job. And Miles is the executive producer of that reality television show.
Hell yeah.
Very fitting. Very fitting. Very cool. Well, I am actually on my way to Arkansas. Once we get done here, I'll be performing at the Comedy Kitchen in Little Rock, Arkansas on Wednesday. It's literally my only show. I've got to drive 5 hours to get on stage, but it's going to be totally worth it. I'm going to suck it in, baby. But I'm also going to get to visit some family, which is why I'm going early, which is super cool. But as always, you can follow me online at Mr. Most Days Off. I do also do the Best Darn Diddly review show. It's a weekly Simpsons podcast you can find every week at bestdarndiddly.com. And I will be back again right here on Get Vocal for Fandom Friday, next Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Central. I don't remember. Oh, talking about Kevin Smith is what my topic next week will be. We'll be discussing the legendary filmmaker, my inspiration for podcasting, Kevin Smith. So stay tuned for Fandom Friday right now and come back next week. Right now, coming up, we've got David from Tales from the Fandom. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next week. Cool, dudes. Thanks so much for